And on this Friday evening, we're going to talk about disabilities again. So, if y'all have something that you want me to talk about, then I will talk about it. Academy Impossible, another TV viewer, Freaky Yellow NR1, Haas 0312. Thank you for being with me, and I appreciate y'all, and we'll see where today goes. Why don't we talk about anxiety and disabilities? Because it's a common problem between a lot of people with disabilities. It messes with your mind, even if it's a physical disability. And there are a lot of disabilities that are physically related, like attention deficit disorder and learning disabilities, which are actually a problem with, they think, neurotransmitters in the brain, the chemicals that send and receive messages between the nerves in the brain. So there's a lot that we don't understand. Most of what is known about brain problems, including brain injuries, is from studying people who have had severe brain injuries. So we don't actually know what technically is going on inside the brain. We can see into the brain with MRIs, magnetic resonance imaging, and we can see certain activity in the brain, but we're really in the infancy of being able to see brain activity and connect it to particular neurotransmitters. So, and neurotransmitters are complicated substances. They're not just made of one substance. So, if we try to treat, for example, attention deficit disorder, there is a lack of the amount of activity in certain areas of the brain. So, we give stimulants to make more activity in the brain generally. And unfortunately, we don't know, we know what substances are part of neurotransmitters, and we can try to duplicate that in the lab. And that's what these drugs do. It kind of imitates what neurotransmitters do. But as far as being able to just give a drug that increases the level of a certain neurotransmitter like serotonin, or, we can block serotonin from being uptaken into the cell, we can do that. But as far as duplicating serotonin or different neurotransmitters, we really don't know quite how to do that, because a lot of times a drug in the bloodstream doesn't transmit to the cells that way. So we have a lot to learn about science and about how our bodies work. A lot of the things that we do to treat illness are based on, trying to figure out what is going to act on a certain cell and observing that in the lab. And sometimes it doesn't equate to reliable results, and that's why drugs go through clinical trials, and some of them don't make it to the market because there are problems. Maybe they create problems that are worse than the problem they're trying to treat, or maybe just too many people have bad side effects, and they think that, well, if it has this bad of a side effect, people aren't going to take it. So chemistry is a complicated science. And biochemistry is very complicated because each person's biochemistry is slightly different. So, what works for most people might not work for all people. So, there's a lot that we still don't understand. Doctors are better suited to figure these things out than we are because they go to school for it and they are intensively trained to recognize symptoms of the most common things that can be wrong with us. So, with having something wrong with you and not being able to keep up with normal people, knowing that you are different does things to your psyche. So, I want to talk about anxiety and how that affects us. So, come with me to the internet and we will. And anybody who wants to comment, I will see it when I come back to the screen, and I will do so often. So, right now, I will go to the search engine and check out disability and anxiety. And depression kind of goes along with that, so I'm going to look up anxiety and depression. All right. Let's look at SAMHSA.gov. And here's their national helpline, also known as the Treatment Referral Routing Service. It is a confidential, free, 24-hour a day, 365-day a year information service in English and Spanish for individuals and family members facing mental and/or substance use disorders. It provides referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, and community-based occupation organizations. Callers can also order free publications and other information. So, this is a good hotline to keep where you can find it. So, meow. That was a kitty. Let me go here. Well, are we going to go there? Come on, notepad. Open up. There we go. I'm gonna put this here. And yeah, she did. She went meow. Funny girl. So I'm gonna go back here and get let's see. I'll just copy that much. Okay. Alrighty. I'll put this up here. And I'll go over here. And, oh, it wants to update, does it? There we go. So, the SAMHSA Helpline is a good resource just if you are feeling like you need some mental health help. They can refer you to treatment centers in your area. So it's a good thing. Alright, yeah, I'll update my Notepad++. Alright, yeah, go ahead and close it. Alright, so I'll let that update. Yes, I know it's going to make changes to my hard drive. That's fine. I want it to be updated. So, it provides referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, and community-based organizations. So, in 2020, it received 833,598 calls, a 27% increase from 2019. So definitely COVID is affecting all of our mental health. And the referral service is free of charge. If you have no insurance or are underinsured, they refer you to the state office that's responsible for state-funded treatment programs like Medicaid. And if you have Medicare, Medicare is federal. Medicaid is by what state you live in. So for Medicaid, you go through your county Department of Family and Children's Services, and they decide whether you qualify because you have to be poor to get Medicaid. So, and there are all these resources that, so there's no need for them to mail you a booklet. You can just download them. So, a very good resource for all sorts of things. And these, they also have treatment links to the side here. So there's a separate, there's a suicide prevention lifeline and there's a veterans crisis line. So these are different from the SAMHSA helpline, but also another resource that I refer people to is United Way. They are a referral service like SAMHSA, and you can call them and let's see. Okay, let me look. Okay, a lot of this is about disability benefits, but a lot of people get anxiety and depression, and it's not really that you need a therapist, you just need some self-help. If it interferes with your daily life, then I would say that's the line between just having a little anxiety and depression because of current events or some temporary situation in your life. But if you're having depression and anxiety most of the time and it's hard for you to function despite it, then you probably need some help from a therapist. The big problem that a lot of people have is, well, good luck with that because their sliding scale doesn't go low enough for me. You got to be able to eat while you are getting treatment for anxiety and depression. And this is the major problem in the United States, that a lot of people are going untreated for these things because, excuse me for rubbing my eye, oh, allergies. And I have got, I think, a cold. I couldn't go for my allergy shots this week because of that. So, um, but, and beware of things that say like anxiety treatment device. There's not really anything that, um, there's no magic bullet for anxiety and depression. The things that help you are changing the way that you think about your anxiety or depression. You want to, let's look at the World Health Organization, because depression is a common mental disorder. Globally, more than 264 million people of all ages suffered from depression. It's a leading cause of disability worldwide and is a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. Because if you are clinically depressed, then you are more likely to get sick. It's going to bother you more when you get sick, because everything is going to bother you more if you are depressed. Depression can lead to suicide, and there are effective psychological and pharmacological treatments for moderate and severe depression. So, depression is something that is a thing. It's not just being blue, it is being cripplingly, oh my, well, I lost my file. That's not good. All right, my fault for not saving it, so let me recreate it. Oh, for September 2021. Disability and anxiety / depression. Because anxiety and depression usually go hand in hand. You'll spend a while being anxious, and because of all that worry and fear, then afterwards you're usually kind of down and depressed. So they kind of go together, and you might cycle between being anxious and nervous and scared of what might happen or what is happening. And then afterwards, you might feel that letdown from being so hyped. Then it, then you might be really sad and really, feel hopeless, and the whole depression picture. So, this is why depression is such a bad thing. I mean, everybody gets blue sometimes if you're just kinda, kinda down, and you can get interested in something to cheer you up, or you can, cheer yourself out of it, then that's normal. When it is such a crushing kind of down feeling that you can't get interested in anything, nothing appeals to you, you just want to lay down and sleep all the time, or you just want to get inactive, that is not normal. So we need to recognize when depression is too much and when we need help to get out of that hole that depression can be. It's normal to be depressed and go through a grief process if you are newly disabled or you've gotten a diagnosis of something and you're going, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" And you get depressed about it. That's normal, and it will pass. You will get used to it. You don't ever like being disabled, but there is a grief process to it. You may not feel anything at first. You may just feel kinda numb, and then you may be deeply depressed and anxious, maybe anxious for a while and then depressed for a while, and there is a grief process that goes with depression. I mean, that goes with a diagnosis of any kind, whether it's a physical disability or whether it's a mental illness. There is still that grief process that everybody goes through, and part of that is denial. Part of that is saying, "No, I can't be disabled. I'm young. I can't," that whole bit. And then you get to a point where the sorrow over your disability kind of evens out, and you may go back and forth between anger and depression and why me? You may even have a lot of religious sadness and anger. Um, you know, you may blame God for letting you fall into this situation. And all of that whole picture is normal for grief. But grief does pass. It takes a while. If you lose somebody close to you, they estimate that it takes you between 6 months and 2 years just to feel normal again. And of course, if you're missing somebody who died, that that hole in your life is going to be there forever. It's not going away. But the intensity of the sadness and bereavement does get better as the years go on. So, there is hope at the end of the tunnel, right? And there is a grief process if you go through a divorce. I've been through two. I know that very well. The death of your dreams because you thought that when you got married that it was going to be happily ever after. Nothing in life prepares you for having problems getting along with your spouse to the point that you go to a divorce lawyer. You just don't think that on the day that you get married. So definitely there's a grief process to divorce. A lot of things have a grief process. Losing a job can be a grief process. Getting disability and not going to work anymore, definite big grief process connected to that. I got a lot of self-esteem from my work. I did pretty well and I felt like a valued employee. And when I couldn't work anymore, I was like, what do I do now? you know? It was good that I won my disability case, but the downside to that is you have to face that, oh my gosh, I can't work. And you know that when you're applying for disability. I mean, that's why you're applying for disability, because you're trying to prove that, yes, I can't work. But the day you come out of that decision with a positive outcome, it's depressing as all get out because that just adds the suspense is over. It's over and done and decided that, yeah, you can't work. And it's hard to take. It is very hard to take. So there is, oh, okay. Yeah, I speak English. Next. All right, I agree. Yep, yep, yep. Just do it. Next. Okay, go ahead. Install. Yeah, because I gotta close it. Okay. Well, let me be smart this time and save my file. got off on a tangent and yeah, okay, save as. And I'm gonna go to my chat files. Okay, there it is. And save the new title. Boink. Path does not exist. Come on, is my hard drive plugged in? This is an unexpected thing. Come on, recognize my hard drive, man. Oh. All right. Let me figure out what's going on here. Let me try it again. Save as. Find GrannyHandicap chat. All right. Path does not exist. All right. Well, technical troubles are part of any live stream, right? I'm going to put it on the Be Right Back screen for a minute while I figure out what's going on here. So let me do that. All right. And y'all can still type in the chat. I'm just going to solve this without showing you what I'm doing. Because this is driving me crazy. I want to be able to save my file. And I want to be able to save it in the directory I want to save it in. So why is it not finding my D drive? Let me see. There it is. All right. Oh. Actually, it's up here. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Okay. I am trying to figure this out. It's not being very cooperative. Okay. All right. Found my directory. But it's saying the path doesn't exist. Well, I'm looking at it. I was able to open the directory. Now, why are you being ornery? Let me try putting it in a different place temporarily until I can troubleshoot this hard drive. I probably need to disconnect the hard drive and reconnect it. I don't really want to do this right now. So I'll just go here. Oh, it's because I put the slash in it. Well, that's dumb. That's really dumb. There are certain characters you cannot put in a in a name of a file, and I forgot that. You cannot put a slash because it says, oh, that's a directory, and it's telling me it can't find that directory because I have put slash in there. So I'll just take the slash out. Now it's saving my file. Well, okay. So now I have my file saved. Now I can do this again. So let's go back to our screen share, and I will get this and put it in the file so that I can include it later. And then I will save it, and very good. Now, there it is. Boom. Okay. Now I will save the file, close the file, update the software, and then everything's hunky-dory. Retry. Okay, there it goes, updating my Notepad++. All right, and it'll run it. And then I can get to my file. Here we go. So, now, I'm on the WHO depression definition, and I will put World Health Organization. Depression. All right, now I can put this link in. Da 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 da. Okay. And there's my second link of the evening. So now let's look and see if they have anxiety. Well, let's look at their handouts on depression. It's nice to have maintenance break. They're taking a maintenance break. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, thinking healthy. Let's see if I can get to this one. Alrighty. Oh, I haven't got an account with them, so I can't do that. You have to have an account to get there? All right. Well, okay. Let's look and see. Okay, dementia, mental health and forced displacement, hepatitis, rehabilitation, self-care interventions for health. Today, 4.3 billion people have inadequate access to essential facility-based health services. That's awful. Individuals choose self-care interventions for a range of reasons, including convenience, confidentiality, and cost. People can also choose self-care interventions to avoid health systems if they anticipate they may face stigma and discrimination. Okay, so reducing personal risk factors such as physical inactivity or tobacco use, for instance, can prevent 81% of cardiovascular disease. That's huge. Okay. Okay. Self-care intervention homepage. All right, let's have a look at this and see what they recommend. Because if you don't have access to health care, then let's see what they think are good self-care interventions. This is kind of off the subject, but not really, because maybe they've got some mental health kind of self-care interventions. So that's what I'm looking for here. So, it's estimated the shortage of health workers is expected to grow to 18 million people by 2030. That's not very good. Okay. So let's see. Okay. 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 Let's see. Mental health. All right. Many mental health conditions can be effectively treated at relatively low cost. Yet the gap between people needing care and those with access to care remains substantial. Effective treatment coverage remains extremely low. So, cool. So, WHO in 2019 launched the WHO Special Initiative for Mental Health um, for 2019 through 2023 universal health coverage for mental health. So the United Nations is really saying that we need mental well-being. So let's see what resources for the public there are. All right. Cool. Managing stress. This is a real good resource. I'm going to put this on the list here, because this is something that we can do. If you take care of stress on a daily basis, it doesn't build up and affect your mental health. So it's kind of like mental health hygiene. It's a way to get yourself in shape mentally, because that's just as important as physical exercise is exercising your mind to help you cope with stress. Everybody has stress. In fact, without stress, we would be dead, because your heart has to have a certain amount of stress on it, the energy it takes to pump your blood, to keep it in good shape. Your heart is probably the healthiest part of you because it's one big muscle, and it has to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And without the stress of having to pump your blood, which is a lot thicker than water, it wouldn't be healthy. Of course, you don't want to overstress your heart by being overweight like I am. You want to exercise to keep your whole body in shape. But it is a good thing to do mental stuff to keep your mind in shape too. So I'm going to put this link here and let's go through it. And this is what the World Health Organization is saying that's a good thing for mental health. So let's see. Managing Stress, an illustrated guide. Let's find out more. Doing What Matters in Times of Stress, an illustrated guide, is a stress management guide for coping with adversity. It aims to equip people with practical skills to help cope with stress. And the nice thing is this booklet is available in a whole host of languages. So if English is not your native language, you can download it in one of these languages, and hopefully that's what you need. So I'm going to download the English one, and we'll go through it. So I'm going to put this here, and let's go through it. It also has audio exercises. So let me make sure that I've got this publication here. And the title of it, Doing What Matters in Times of Stress. So let me make sure that someone's not trying to type to me, and I don't see anybody. So let's go through the booklet, because this is good for anxiety and depression. So I'll go ahead and get, it's up there. It's there. Okay. Alrighty. And it shows a big family around the table, and it's talking about grounding, unhooking, acting on your values, engaging, being kind, and making room. All right, so and the general disclaimers, they do not imply the expression of any opinion whatsoever on the part of WHO concerning the legal status of any country, territory, city, or area, or of its authorities, or concerning the delimitation of its frontiers or boundaries. Dotted and dashed lines on maps represent approximate border lines for which there may not be full agreement yet. And the mention of specific companies or certain manufacturers' products does not imply that they are endorsed or recommended by WHO. And all reasonable precautions have been taken by WHO to verify the information contained here. Alrighty. So, it's a stress management guide for coping with adversity. And there are many causes of stress, including personal difficulties, conflict with loved ones, being alone, lack of income, worries about the future, problems at work, conflict with colleagues, an extremely demanding or insecure job, or major threats in your community, violence, disease, lack of economic opportunity. This guide is for anyone who experiences stress, ranging from parents and other carers to health professionals working in dangerous situations. It is for both people who flee war, losing all they have, and well-protected people living at communities at peace. Anyone living anywhere can experience high levels of stress. So, this guide provides information and practical skills to help people cope with adversity. While the causes of adversity must be addressed, there is also a need to support people's mental health. So, here we go. And there's and this has been tested on groups of people with good results. If you're experiencing stress, you're not alone. Right now, there are many other people in your community and all around the world who are also struggling with stress. We will help you to learn practical skills for dealing with stress. And you'll see these characters throughout the book as they teach us the skills we need. Enjoy your journey of learning to do what matters in times of stress. Okay. It has 5 sections, each containing a new idea and technique. They're easy to learn and can be used for just a few minutes daily to help you reduce stress. You can read one section every few days and take time to practice the exercises, or you can read it through once, applying whatever you can, and then read it again. So I encourage y'all to download this booklet, and if you want, we can go through it together. So, when you see the speaker symbol in the book, you can download an audio version of the exercise. So, all right, so part 1 is grounding. This book is to help you manage stress. Stress means feeling troubled or threatened by life. Stress can be due to major threats. Someone does something bad to you. You got family violence, got illness, or you can't go to school. Problems providing for your family, or you're displaced from your home, or there's violence in your community, or smaller problems, arguments, uncertainty about the future. Everyone experiences stress at times. A little bit of stress is not a problem. But very high stress often affects the body. Many people get unpleasant feelings, headaches, neck and shoulder pain, back pain, upset stomach, not feeling hungry or wanting to eat too much, lump in the throat, heavy chest, tight muscles. Other people find their body gets sick, skin rashes, infections, illnesses, or bowel problems. When they're stressed, many people can't focus, get angry easily, can't sit still, have difficulty sleeping, feel sad or guilty, worry. They may cry. they may feel very tired, have changes in appetite, either eating more than you need or not eating enough. And many of us think a lot about bad things from the past or bad things we fear in the future. These powerful thoughts and feelings are a natural part of stress, but problems can occur if we get hooked by them. Thoughts and feelings. What does hooked mean? Well, there are many types of hooks. When something is on a hook, it cannot get away. The hook traps it. In the same way, we get hooked by our different thoughts and feelings. One moment you might be playing with children, and the next moment you might be hooked by difficult thoughts and feelings. One moment you might be enjoying sharing a meal, and the next moment you might be hooked by angry thoughts and feelings. You may feel as though you're being pulled away by anger even though you were still there. So these difficult thoughts and feelings hook us and pull us away from our values. So what are values? Values are your deepest desires for the sort of person you want to be. For example, if you are a parent or you have responsibilities caring for others, what kind of a person do you want to be? Most of us want to be loving, wise, attentive, committed, persistent, responsible, calm, caring, protective, courageous. So values describe the sort of person you want to be, how you want to treat yourself and others and the world around you. Caring. Just reading this book means you are likely acting on some of your values. Do you see how? Well, she's reading this book because she cares about her family, and he's reading it because he cares about his family too, and he also cares about his well-being. That is correct. So likely you are acting on one value that is important to many people, caring. Caring for yourself, caring for others. And so here's a little diagram. In stressful situations, difficult thoughts and feelings hook us and we are pulled away from our values. So there are many kinds of difficult thoughts and feelings that can hook us. Thoughts about giving up, thoughts that blame others, harsh judgments about ourselves, memories, especially about difficult events, thoughts about the futures, especially about what we fear. Thoughts are where we worry about others. When we get hooked, our behavior changes. We often start doing things that make our lives worse. We might get into fights, arguments, or disagreements. Or we might withdraw and stay away from people we love. Or we might spend a lot of time laying in bed. We call these behaviors away moves because when we act this way, we are moving away from our values. So, what can we do? This book is here to help you. First, you learn how to focus, engage, and pay attention better. How will that help us? And what do you mean by focus and engage? Have patience, I will explain. When we are stressed, we find it hard to engage in life. I do not understand what you mean by engage. To engage in something means to give it your full attention. When you are drinking something, do you give it your full attention? Do you savor the smell and the taste? When you listen to music, do you give it your full attention? Do you listen to it and enjoy it? When you give your full attention to any activity, we say you are engaged with it. But when hooked by thoughts or feelings, you are disengaged or distracted. When you give your full attention to any activity, we say you're focused. But when hooked by thoughts or feelings, you're unfocused. And when we do things in an unfocused way, we often do them poorly or are unable to enjoy the activity and feel dissatisfied. So, if you can learn to be more engaged and focus better, then you will handle stress better. For example, you will find your relationships with others more satisfying, and you will be able to do important things much better. How can we learn to do this? There are many ways to practice engaging in life or focusing on what you are doing. You can practice these skills with any activity you do. For example, if you are drinking tea or coffee, focus your full attention on it. You notice the drink with curiosity, as if you had never encountered such a drink before. You notice its color. You savor the smell of it. You sip it slowly. Let it sit on your tongue. Feel it on your teeth and savor the taste. You drink it as slowly as possible, savoring the taste, noticing the temperature. You notice the movements of your throat as you swallow. You notice the taste fading from your tongue as you swallow. And you drink each mouthful in the same way, slowly noticing and savoring. And whenever you get hooked by thoughts and feelings, I refocus on the drink. Exactly. What other activities could you practice to use to practice engaging or focusing? Okay, and here's where we've got a link to listen to the awareness of drinking exercise. I'm going to download it. Let's see. Alrighty. And these audio files are also in other languages.
One thing that helps people manage stress better is learning how to get less lost or distracted by your thoughts and feelings.
Cool. I like his voice. I'm going to download this. And I'm going to practice these. Let's see. I need to make a file for this. Okay. I'll put it down here. And I'm going to go ahead and download all of them while I'm doing this. Whoops. And that way, I will be able to go through this at my own pace. And I would suggest to y'all that you do this if you have a way to put all of these things on your computer or on your phone so that you can refer back to it. Because what helps with this is to do it again and again. Let's see.
Now we will do
Okay, I'm not sure if I got this one or not. Apparently I did. Okay, so I'll go back and get the next one.
today.
And as you go through these, you want to pay attention to what they're saying because it's doing this again and again that will make it a habit. It will take so many repetitions, and that's going to vary according to how long it takes you to learn these. So it's good to do these again and again. So it's good to download them, and if you don't want to download them, just bookmark the page so you can come back to it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a bookmark and put it in my disability folder. And basically, this is a set of techniques that have been proven. A lot of psychology is theory, but they have tested this booklet with groups that wanted to do this, and they found that they felt better. So there are some techniques that definitely do work, and we don't have to understand why they work for them to work. So these are proven techniques, and I've seen them before in cognitive behavioral therapy. So I know that these are good exercises. They may use a little different names than some of the methods that I have used, but the basic stuff in this is very similar to what I did in the recent course I had with a psychologist. So I know that this works. It's a matter of sitting down and doing it. So I've given you a little taste of this, but I would encourage you to download the booklet and go through the exercises and go ahead and do the verbal things. And you will be able to, if you do it every day, it'll become a habit. And you don't have to do the whole book every day. Just pick one part of it and do it just enough times that you can remember it. Or, like it said, you can go through the whole booklet and then get what you can and then go back. But the important thing is to do something from this book every day if you're experiencing a lot of stress. And the good news is you can share it with your family, and maybe you can get your whole family to do this. This is a way of self-help without having to hire a psychologist. And see if this helps you. If it reduces your stress, then maybe you don't need to be in therapy. If you do this book, is really a course. If you do this and decide that it's not helping, then you need to look further for help. But I like the World Health Organization's philosophy that if you can't get medical care, then maybe there are some things you can do for yourself. And definitely stress reduction helps everybody, whether they've got a mental health issue or not. And the thing I want to stress is that as disabled people, we tend to get a lot more stress. A lot of times are low income. We worry about where the money for the bills are going to come from. I told you about buying some models from Daz for my 3D work, and I still haven't worked with them. I've been feeling a little anxiety about that, so that's something I'm working through. It's hard to feel like you deserve things sometimes, and that's part of your sense of well-being. And if you have trouble feeling like, well, yeah, I deserve this, I deserve to play with it and have fun with it, then you need to try to be nicer to yourself. If you are buying too much stuff and you're not paying your bills, then obviously that is a problem. So you need to look at, why do you feel compelled to spend money on things other than your monthly obligations? And, you can work through that and realize patterns if you write down your feelings about, you know, what was going on when you bought too much stuff. But in the case of my situation, we have been so frugal for pretty much COVID. Ever since COVID started, my daughter had to be out from work so much, she lost her job at Walmart, during the pandemic. And ever since, we've just been scrimping and saving and not spending hardly any money at all. We've been, as I said, we would just, if we were going to spend $1, we sat down and talked about it. And I've even had to ask my sister for help, which I hate to do because she's going through a rough time too right now. So, now we can relax a little bit, and, you know, I'm trying to feel comfortable with my former spending habits. And it's an uphill battle because for over a year, we have been just on the verge of financial collapse. And now we're not, because Maggie is now working in this program that allows her to take care of me. So our income is now double what it was, and a little over. And so we can relax a little bit, but it's hard to relax when you've been under all this stress. And now what do you do? It's hard to let go and not, there's this fear that you'll just go wild and spend everything, and then you won't have money for the bills again. So, moderation is the key. You don't want to spend all your money so you can't pay your bills. You want to pay the bills first, and then what's left over, then you can relax a little bit and have some fun with it. So, yeah. And it's just, these anti-stress techniques are really, really good. So, definitely, this is a good resource for y'all. And let's look up some more things to de-stress. Maybe my focus should be on stress rather than on anxiety and depression, but anxiety and depression are a part of that picture. So let's go back and look at, I'm going to go all the way back. Well, mental well-being, let's look at what else is available. That's the managing stress. Mental health during COVID-19. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at this. Yeah, so being healthy at home during this time of COVID. And even though here in Georgia right now, we're not under any lockdowns, but we're still having to quarantine if we have symptoms of COVID, and we are still having to wear masks in a lot of places. I wear my mask all the time, but it's not required. It's kind of left up to us whether to wear it or not. And a lot of people don't wear the mask, which means that Every time my daughter goes to the store, she brings home a virus to me, and I'm sick again. And it may not be COVID, but now we've got to go get tested for COVID. It's like, ah. And here we are, we've been wearing masks. And masks do work, but they work better if everybody is wearing them because it stops you from spreading 80% of what is wrong with you. But if someone's wearing no mask, then you're exposed to 100% of their germs just walking through where they've been. And anytime you go in a public place, there might be this cloud of infection from somebody who may not even know they're sick that you're walking through, and a person like us with A or B blood is going to catch it. So, anyway, let me get over here and get this header, and I'll put it here. All right. And I'll put this link in the chat so we can talk about this resource. Again, from WHO, branch of the United Nations. So here we go. Looking after our mental health. As countries introduce measures to restrict movement as part of efforts to reduce the number of people infected with COVID-19, more and more of us are making huge changes to our daily routines. The new realities of working from home, temporary unemployment, homeschooling of children, and lack of physical contact with other family members, friends, and colleagues take time to get used to. Adapting to lifestyle changes such as these and managing the fear of contracting the virus and worry about people close to us who are particularly vulnerable are challenging for all of us. They can be particularly difficult for people with mental health conditions. Tell me about it. Fortunately, there are lots of things that we can do to look after our own mental health and to help others who may need some extra support and care. Here are tips and advice that they hope that we will find useful. Keep informed. Listen to advice and recommendations from your national and local authorities. Follow trusted news channels such as local and national TV and radio, and keep up to date with the latest news from WHO on social media. And I do. Have a routine. Keep up with daily routines as far as possible or make new ones. Get up and go to bed at similar times every day. My daughter and I are suffering from severe insomnia, and we are having a tough time getting to bed at any regular time. Right now, it's more like 4 in the morning, and sometimes it's 7 before we get to sleep. So we are not keeping on a daytime schedule, which is really frustrating. Keep up with personal hygiene. Yeah, that's a difficult one for me. If I When I take my bath, it just saps all of my energy, so it's really hard for me to do my live stream that night. So, yeah, eat healthy meals at regular times. Well, we got on this new program and my Meals on Wheels is not included. So now Maggie is having to adjust to cooking every day, which um, she likes cooking. So, but right now she's not feeling too well because we're both sick. So that is really hard now that I don't get the Meals on Wheels, so I don't have something we can just throw in the microwave. She actually has to cook. So, yeah, it's harder. Exercise regularly. Well, I did get up and I tried to walk a few times between the bedroom and the um, living room, and Maggie said I got really pale and I really felt bad. So I wasn't able to do as many laps as I did yesterday. Yesterday I did 11 laps. Yay. But yeah, exercise is going to be tough until I get over this. Allocate time for working and time for resting. And I have had varying success with this. I do have a to-do list. I think if you have watched me before, you may have heard me talk about my to-doist. Last week I tweeted that I had all these things and it was like 200 days since I had done them. I'm trying to clean up my to-doist, but it is and that's where my to-do list lives, so it's been interesting. Make time for doing things you enjoy, and there again, I feel like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything about my writing business, I'm not," I am doing my live stream every day, so there's one. So, yeah. Minimize news feeds. Try to reduce how much you watch, read, or listen to news that makes you feel anxious or stressed. Seek the latest information at specific times of the day, once or twice a day if needed. And I've been working on that. I'll watch something that's upsetting, like there's a couple of new strains of COVID that they are watching that makes me very nervous with the amount of people who are not complying with what the CDC is saying. In the United States, the Center for Disease Control is our major organization for protecting our public health. So, with a large part of about a third of our population totally ignores what the CDC says about hand washing and masks and social distancing. And it makes it tough for those of us who are wearing our masks, washing our hands, social distancing, taking the vaccine. Um, it I feel kind of resentful that there's a large part of our population who is totally ignoring the things and so many kids are getting sick because kids are passing COVID a lot. And the more it spreads, then the more mutants there's going to be. And those mutants might get to a point where our vaccinations are useless. I can't do anything about people who refuse vaccines for what they think are good reasons. There is a lot of misinformation flowing around the internet and preventing people from doing the right thing, which it just there's this feeling of helplessness that I really wish that our tech companies would do something about the flood of misinformation and correct it. But we have, freedom of speech is a big deal in my country, and it's very hard for officials to do anything that restricts our freedom of speech. But I feel where our public health is concerned, we need to be cracking down on these people that are spreading lies about the vaccines and about mask wearing and but I'm limiting my exposure to that, and I am watching more cute cat videos and other things that are documentaries that are informative and keep me abreast of social issues and our progress or lack thereof. But Yeah, I do try to minimize the news feeds. I probably need to restrict it more. I think my daughter would say that. But, and social contact is important. Keeping in regular contact with people close to me by telephone and online channels. I'm talking to my sister every day, and of course, my daughter lives with me, so I get that contact with her every day. Um, yeah, I try to keep my social up, and of course, my live stream is a social outlet too. And I've started going to a church activity on Tuesday nights. So if you may have noticed that I'm always late on Tuesday night, and that's why. But it's important to have that contact with friends. So, alcohol and drug use. Limit the amount of alcohol you drink or don't drink it at all. Don't start drinking alcohol if you haven't drunk it before. Avoid using alcohol and the drugs as a way of dealing with fear, anxiety, boredom, and social isolation. And I absolutely don't drink or use drugs at all, and I encourage others not to do so. In my church, it is really frowned upon to do any of that stuff. So, um, there's no evidence of any protective effect of drinking alcohol for viral or other infections. In fact, the opposite is true, as the harmful use of alcohol is associated with increased risk of infections and worse treatment outcomes. So, it may be good on the outside of you, like in hand sanitizer, but it doesn't do more good to ingest it. And be aware that alcohol and drug use may prevent you from taking sufficient precautions to protect yourself against infections, such as compliance with hand hygiene. Screen time. Be aware of how much time you spend in front of a screen every day. Make sure that you take regular breaks from on screen activities. I am not particularly good at this, but I'm trying to do better. Um, since I can't be up and around, screens are kind of my life now, but I, you know, I need to, I do have, items running to track my time. I just don't look at that very much because it's dismal, but definitely if you can be up and around, it is much better not to be in front of a screen all day like I am. Video games. While video games can be a way to relax, yeah, it can be tempting to spend much more time on them than usual when at home for long periods. Be sure to keep the right balance with offline activities in your daily routine. And I'm bad about this too, but when you can't run and jump and you can get on a video game and you can do all those things and you can race a car down the road at 300 kilometers an hour, you know, when you can't drive anymore, yeah, it, yeah. Um, Try to limit your video games. Social media. Use your social media accounts to promote positive and helpful stories. I do try to do this. Correct misinformation wherever you see it. And definitely, I don't spend a lot of time on my social media accounts, but I do try, like on my Twitter, I try to retweet a lot of positive things and I try to point out things that are misinformation. Um, Help others. If you are able to, offer support to people in your community who may need it, such as helping them with food shopping. I wish I could do stuff like that. Um, I do try to offer support to the people who come on my live stream, and I don't know how successful I am at that. The folks that I have reached out to will have to tell you about that. But I do try to put out good information on my live stream. So that's my way of trying to help others. And I really want to create a community of disabled people and others, professionals and game developers, and a place for people to share their stories and a place for those who serve the disabled. And any gaming company needs to pay attention to disabled people because 1 in 5 of people in America, we are disabled. And if they put things into their video games that are generally helpful for people who may have hand problems, who may have problems reading a lot of material or understanding what they read, if they've got helps in there for disabled people, then that can certainly help a lot of us to be able to enjoy the game without worrying about, my thumb jerked and I'm across the field and I'm in a race and I'm going to be 12th place again, like I am often in Horizon 4. Horizon 4 has really gone above and beyond as far as disabled people, and I really appreciate that because they've really got a lot of things in there in their game settings that can help somebody like me. It's on the Xbox, so the Xbox itself has a high contrast mode that I can put things in so I can tell what's going on better. I definitely notice a big difference with that. But beyond that, Horizon 4, the developers put in all these adjustments, and also the game notices if you've lost a few races and offers to downgrade the abilities of your NPC, non player character, drivatars, so that you're racing against the drivatars, right? So you can reduce their skill level a little bit. You don't get as good of a prize, but you can do that. And that way you can still feel the thrill of victory even when you're not able to play at your best. And I love this about the game. So definitely, I'm hoping that maybe developers will hang out with us sometime and we can, as more people share their stories, then they'll get to see how gamers are affected by certain decisions in the game or whether the things they're putting in for handicapped people help. So, yeah. So this is my big picture helping others thing, to be able to use my live stream to actually create a community where we're helping each other because we're all in this together, right? And support health workers. Take opportunities online or through your community to thank your country's healthcare workers and all those working to respond to COVID-19. I always, when I have contact with my health workers, I ask them how they're doing and tell them that they have my support, certainly. Don't discriminate. Fear is a normal reaction in situations of uncertainty, but sometimes fear is expressed in ways which are hurtful to other people. Remember, be kind. Don't discriminate against people because of your fears of the spread of COVID-19. Don't discriminate against people who you think may have coronavirus. Don't discriminate against health workers. Health workers deserve our respect and gratitude. They really do. COVID-19 has affected people from many countries. Don't attribute it to any specific group. I've been very sad to see the amount of attacks on people who look Chinese. And, just because COVID first became public in Wuhan, China, does not mean that the Chinese people are out to get us and we shouldn't be attacking them. It really hurts my heart to hear about elderly people with Chinese ancestry who have been attacked and called non-American. These are American citizens. They are part of our community, and it just hurts to see things like this on the news and to hear stories of people who have been persecuted. So, you know, and there's stuff for parents, older adults, and if you have a mental health condition. So, and then there's all these social media tiles, and I need to use some of these. Because definitely, we could spread these around, and they're easy to put on social media. So, yeah, these are cool. So, definitely, I'm gonna download these and put them on my social media. It's important to spread the word about, you know, all these things. So, stress and the feelings associated with it are by no means a reflection that you cannot do your job or are weak. I definitely agree with that. These are really good. We should be putting them on our social media. And this is good advice. If your children have concerns, addressing those together may ease their anxiety. Children will observe adults' behaviors and emotions for cues on how to manage their own emotions during difficult times. So it's definitely good to talk to your kids about your worries and let them know. I've got a friend who doesn't like to show any weakness around her children, and I keep telling her, showing that weakness shows that you're human, and they may feel like they've got such a high bar for their behavior because, if they don't see you reacting to stress, then they probably think you're not feeling any, and it doesn't teach them how to cope with their stress. So, yeah, these are really good. I like them. So, let's see. Yeah, my sister just told me today she was in the hospital with COVID and nearly died of it. And she still has symptoms, severe symptoms. So it is so much better to get vaccinated and not have to go through that. I have really, it just frustrates me that I tried to get her to get the shot again and again, and she just didn't believe in it. And now she is telling people that they need to get vaccinated. You know, I just wish I had more of a voice to get out there and tell people, please get vaccinated. Don't go through what I saw them go through. and we've got worse things coming. If you got the shot today, you're going to have about 6 weeks before your immunity is up there enough to protect you. So the time to get your shot is now. Um, if you have not gotten your shot, you know, you need to get it. And one person I was trying to convince to go get the shot, she was like, "Well, I'll get it sometime." And it's like, you know, you need that immunity because the more people that aren't vaccinated. Oh. So, I think that's it. The more people that aren't vaccinated, the more people are, you know, and there's this whole series, Healthy at Home, which is really neat. So definitely it's a good thing. Um, so I think I put that in the chat, did I? Yes, I did. And I don't see any comments, so I'm going to continue on. So let's see what other sources for mental health. And there was a little cartoon book for kids. So let's go back. All right. Totally was not expecting to have a whole resource there for y'all. That's really cool. Let's see. Okay, let's look at the next page and see what we find. Relationship between physical disability and depression. That actually is a study. I'll put the link, but I won't go through it because I'm trying to find sources that are more friendly for y'all. But in case we've got any professionals listening in, this would be a good resource. Suffice it to say that depression after getting a diagnosis is really hard, especially if it's something that interferes with your major life activities. Definitely, it's hard for people to get a diagnosis that, you know, it may not interfere with you working, but it certainly may make it more difficult for you to continue working. So let's see. Okay. Well, let's look at the Mayo Clinic. Managing depression and anxiety. Well, that's the newsletter sign up. I don't want to sign up. Let's see. Well, hmm. And it's all about applying for disability. I didn't want to cover that. I wanted to. Let's see. ADAA, what's that? Anxiety and Depression Association of America. Oh, okay. Screen yourself or a loved one for depression. This is good. So, here's a survey you can do to see if you are depressed or if you're just blue. And this is a good thing to look at because it's normal to be somewhat blue, and you can have days where you're blue, and it can be perfectly normal depending on what's going on in your life. But it is good to know if you are, kind of depressed, because then that means you need a little more than just somebody saying, well, oh, things will get better. That can help if it's just feeling down. But if you know somebody who's really, really, they've been blue for a while, you can't really cheer them up, they're not finding any way out of it, then, this is a good thing to suggest, this little screening for depression. I am screened for depression every time my case manager checks in with me. And that way, and it's normal to be a little depressed when you've got disabilities, but if it's not interfering with you in your normal stuff that you do, it's not a clinical problem. So it's good to know if you are, though. So let me do that and put it here. Did I put the other one? Oh, all right. I'll put that on here. Yeah, that's the one that I wasn't really going to look at. Okay, the screening for depression is what I wanted to really talk about. So it just asks you not at all or several days, more than half the days. You think about the last 2 weeks. And if you take this little screening, you can print the form, or you can, you know, and if you've got, the last thing is, if you clicked on any problems above, how difficult have they made it for you to do your work, take care of things at home or get along with other people. And, so based on this, you know, you want to, if you are, this last question is probably the most important one at all. If you clicked on any of these problems, if it is very difficult or extremely difficult, I would say maybe it's time for you to find a therapist. If it's been somewhat difficult, then maybe if it's not, if you are not having any difficulty at all doing your work, taking care of things at home, getting along with other people, then you're probably just having a bad day or a bad couple of weeks. But, it depends on what you are doing and, you know. So let's learn more about depression. 264 million people worldwide deal with depression. In 2017, almost 20 million adults 18 or older had experienced at least one major depressive episode in the last year. That is 6.7% of adults in the US in 2017 before COVID. I think it would be higher now. So, you know, losing a loved one, getting fired from a job, going through a divorce, and other difficult situations can lead a person to feel sad, lonely, and scared. These feelings are normal reactions to life's stressors. Most people feel low and sad at times. But in the case of individuals who are diagnosed with depression as a psychiatric disorder, it's much more severe and it tends to persist. So it occurs more often in women than men. Some differences in the manner in which the depressed mood manifests have been found based on sex and age. In men, it's more often tiredness, irritability, and anger. They may show more reckless behavior and abuse drugs and alcohol. They also tend to not recognize that they're depressed, so they don't seek help for it. In women, depression is more sadness, worthlessness, and guilt. In younger children, depression is more likely to show up as school refusal, anxiety when separated from parents, and worry about the parents dying. Depressed teenagers tend to be irritable, sulky, and get into trouble at school. They also frequently have anxiety, eating disorders, or substance abuse. In older adults, depression may be more subtle, as they tend to be less likely to admit to these feelings. And medical illnesses, which are more common for them and contributes to or causes the depression. So, this is the link that tells about it, so I will add this there. And, it's hard to separate the two because anxiety and depression go hand in hand. You can have anxiety without depression, and you can have depression without anxiety. But usually, you know, usually they go together, at least at first. If depression goes on for a long time, the anxious component may disappear. But, um, now here's a 2018 study. I'll put it on there too. The studies tend to be a little more dry, so I look at studies a lot in my um, in my writing research, but I'm not really going to go through it all here, but I will add that to the links because I want to make sure that I'm giving good information for folks at all levels of it and any professionals that are with us might want those scholarly links if they're researching it. So, frequent mental distress, defined as 14 or more self-reported mentally unhealthy days in the last 30, is associated with adverse health behaviors, increased use of health services, mental disorders, chronic diseases, and functional limitations. So, adults with disabilities more often report depression and anxiety, reduced healthcare access, and health-related risk behaviors than do adults without disabilities. I've heard the attitude a lot, the times I've been in the Social Security waiting room or in the DFACS waiting room, Department of Family and Children's Services, to those not in Georgia. I've heard people talk about, well, I'm already disabled. Why do I need to be careful? It's not going to make me any more disabled, which is a fallacy. You can get more disabled. You want to really take care of yourself better and avoid injuries because it can always be worse. But people get despondent and they just don't care anymore about their health, about taking care of themselves because they think, well, it's all over now. And it's never over as long as you're not giving up. So I just wanted to mention about that, you know, um, and identifying as disabled predicts lower anxiety and depression. Well, are we going there? Oh, it's a download. Ooh, okay. Well, all right. So, all right. And, okay. Well, let's see. So, let me. Disability benefits made easy. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's not easy to apply for disability. Anybody who has gone through that process will tell you it is not an easy process. It may appear easy, but it's not. It's not. Something like 90% of people are turned down when they first apply. You have to be persistent to get disability. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. I got it. I had to fight 4 years for it. And it's harder to get now than it used to be. So, let's see. what's this? Let's see. Seniors and people with disabilities, SUA. I don't know what SUA is. Addressing depression and anxiety, and this is mainly state stuff. Let's see. Okay, well, step coping skills. Is this something that is learn more about the course by visiting here. And you have to buy it. Yeah, so, well, all right. So I'm going to wrap up and go ahead and end the live stream. I don't see anybody typing, so suffice it to say that mental distress is not necessarily mental illness, but stress gets to everybody. And when you have a lot of stress and you don't do anything about it, that is when you can get mentally unhealthy, which can lead to mental illness. So, the best way to go about this is prevention. If you learn ways that are healthy to cope with stress, then you will not hopefully end up having to be treated by a psychologist, although there's nothing wrong with that, and you shouldn't feel stigmatized if you feel that's what you need. But sometimes, if it's minor, a self-help group, which is free, could help you. And if you've got a way that you can talk it out, there's a lot of things you can do for stress, and I'm sure they go into it in that little free course that the WHO has. So again, I'll refer y'all to that, and I'm going to try the course and see how it works for me, and I'll let you know how that works out. So I'm glad I found the resource, and that's a very good introduction to some of these techniques. They may feel kind of unnatural at first, but once you do them and get in the habit of doing them, things like meditation and noticing when you're eating something and it tastes really good, paying attention to it, not having one eye on the news while you're eating, which I'm guilty of sometimes. Just little things like this, and learning to look for the things that can give you joy are so important. I can't emphasize enough, because there is this misperception in my country that being strong is never showing emotion, never shedding a tear, never having an angry outburst, just, acting like nothing is wrong, everything rolls off your back. And, that's not my definition of being strong. Being strong to me is being able to handle things. And how can you handle anything if you are holding all of your emotions inside yourself so tightly that you're in total denial that it's hurting you? And I hear so many people talk about, well, I don't like to talk about things that hurt. I just want to ignore it. It's not healthy to ignore it. It's not healthy to hold it in. And you'll talk to the person further, and they've got all these headaches and all these stomach aches. I mean, it will come out in your body if you're not taking care of it while it's still mental. There is the mind-body connection. Nobody is so strong that they can just hold in all their emotions all the time without eventually exploding all over the ones they love. And I've had it happen to me, and I've seen it happen to a lot of nice people, and it's not a pretty sight, folks. It is much better to let it out as it happens. If you feel irritated, it's somehow not socially acceptable to be irritated or be sad or be angry. But these emotions are part of who we are. And just because you ignore an emotion does not make it go away. It tends to stay around, and it ends up being this emotional baggage that is just as heavy as if you were carrying suitcases around all day. Heavy suitcases with rocks in them, you know? It's much better to find healthy, constructive ways to let your emotions out. Take a walk. Walk is physically good for you, and sometimes it does clear your head. If you have if there's something that you have a conflict with somebody in your family or at your workplace about, it is much better to sit down, not in a confrontive way, but it can be uncomfortable, yes, but it's better to sit down and, in a very kind way, try to put it in an I statement. When I see whatever it is, if it's the person's messy desk or if it's their treatment of people or whatever the problem is that you've got a conflict with this person, if you can put it in an I statement, when I see, and you explain the situation, I feel, and then fill in the blank with what emotion you're feeling. And if it makes you angry, that's what you put in that blank. And don't attack the person. Don't do name calling. Don't insult their ethnic group or their color of their skin or their religion. Leave that out of it. And don't add in stuff that happened 5 years ago. Keep it on the here and now. You know, I see, and describe what it was. I feel, describe how you feel. And I would like to see, and then put out there what you would like the outcome to be. Because too often we are blaming stuff on a person's belief system or a physical attribute or something that has nothing to do with whatever we're irritated or concerned about. So, open, honest communication with caring for the other person, and this can be hard. There are a lot of people that just, you know, they tend to just blurt out things. They don't put it diplomatically. They don't um, seem motivated to keep peace, and you'll have that. But if you can keep calm and just keep it in I statements, then things will go much better for you and you will get more of the outcomes that you would like to see. So, just what I'm saying, instead of being prompted by the little kid in you to stomp and scream and pull your hair out. It's better to let the adult part of you work and say, okay, I see whatever it is you're seeing or hearing or noticing, whatever comes to your senses, this is what you say first. Then, how do you feel about it? So you express how you feel about the situation and you stick on the situation that you are sitting down with the person about to discuss. So you try to keep it on subject. And, then you feel whatever and what you would like to see happen. And then you spell that out. And you've got to not attack the other person. You've got to give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they didn't intend for this outcome. Maybe they didn't intend for you to see what you saw and feel what you felt. Maybe they have no idea that this is going on. So, in this honest, open communication, you're letting them know, hey, I got a problem and it involves you. But you try not to say, well, you did so and you made me mad. You try to avoid that because that is going to cause the other person to be on the defensive and they're going to try to be denying it. They may lie about it. I mean, you get the whole range of negative human behavior, and that's not what you want. That's not going to solve the problem. So you try to keep the conversation on the problem. And this is the way to solve it. So, I'm just saying that healthy, open communication is the way to solve problems, and you get the other person on board in solving the problem. And maybe it's as simple as just mentioning the problem, and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that was bothering anybody. A lot of people will change something if they know somebody is upset about it out of the niceness of their heart. There may be other problems that are stickier and it may not be solved in one conversation. It might take days of discussion to negotiate for what you want, and you know, all problems can't be solved in one sitting, but sitting on your emotion and fuming is not the way to solve anything. And certainly blowing up or getting physically violent is not going to make your problem any better. So it's not a natural way of talking to people, but it works. And I can tell you that I've used this technique. It's called assertiveness training. I actually got assertiveness training at work, but I had been exposed to it at college and in therapy. I mean, it works. It has worked for me, and I'm 62 years old. I've had a lot of life experiences that have taught me that being assertive is much more productive and helpful and easier on everybody concerned and friendlier than getting mad, losing my temper, saying something I wish I hadn't said. That's the old way. I definitely like the new way a lot better. And that's how I solve all of my interpersonal conflicts. And I haven't had a yelling and screaming argument in anybody in quite a while because I haven't felt that upset in a while. So, It's much better to learn a few of these techniques, and then you've got stuff in your toolbox to reach for when you're at the end of your rope. And a little practice makes perfect. So I encourage you to download that course, and I suspect it will talk about assertiveness somewhere in there. So, just take a look at that booklet and see if it can help you. Because it's written simply, but it's got powerful stuff in there. And just because it's in a kind of comic book format doesn't mean that it doesn't have good information. And it's good for grown-ups and kids to look at together. So definitely a good resource for this kind of discussion because, and you might come back to, well, this is supposed to be about anxiety and depression, but how you handle stress determines the level of your anxiety and the depth of your depression. If you can handle stress better, it will improve all aspects of your life. I'm not promising miracle cures. If you've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, you should be doing what you and your medical team decide about it. But I'm talking that learning to handle stress is not something that we should just know from childbirth. Come on. We do not do very well when left to our own devices with, fears and worrying about things. So these little exercises that the booklet goes through, like paying attention to when you're eating or drinking something, or if you're experiencing something that is pleasurable, paying attention to it and putting your worries aside for a little bit is a very healthy thing to do. And stress is a part of everybody's life. And it doesn't have to become a mental health problem, but it can if you don't train yourself when you have stress to respond to it in a healthy way. So it does make a difference. It's just that it may not seem like, well, this little cartoon book about anxiety and dealing with stress. you know, um, you may not want to have to go to a booklet every time you feel anxious or depressed. But I'm telling you that this is a way to insulate you against those times when you're feeling really anxious and you're feeling really depressed. So if you read the book when you're not anxious or when you're not depressed, then you'll have the tools in your head the next time anxiety hits you, right? That's the idea. So you'll have these things to try when you feel anxiety, when you feel depression. And it doesn't seem like it would help that much, but little things become large. So if you nip the little things in the bud before they get big, that's the trick to mental health. And it works. So I encourage you download the booklet from the UN World Health Organization and go through the little exercises because it does add up to a big impact on anxiety and depression that can be a normal part of getting a diagnosis and finding out that there's something wrong with you. Or you may have suspected for many years that something was wrong with you, and finally you have a name for it. you still have to deal with that anxiety and depression as you get used to, what you and your medical team have decided to do about it. So that's what I'm saying. These things are really good. And another thing that is wonderful is the Harvard course on happiness. And let me get that link for you because it is absolutely the best thing. Let's see. Harvard happiness. Yeah. All right. It's not Harvard, it's Yale. Sorry. It's the science of well-being. So I will put this link in here and I will make that my last link for tonight. This is a free course. You do have to sign up for Coursera, but it is absolutely wonderful. And you can enroll for free. It takes 6 weeks to go through it, and it goes into what people think that happiness is and what they I believe it's 6 weeks long. Let me make absolutely sure that it is. And it's mostly videos. It takes 2 hours to complete the first week. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 10-week course. All right. It's a 10-week course, so I need to change that. It is a 10-week course. But it does not take that long to go through the exercises, and it is absolutely, I can't say enough good things about it. And it teaches you what the secrets to happiness are by the wealth of psychological research on what makes people happy, how people can stay happy, and the things that you normally think will make you happy, that dream job, or making a lot of money, or finding the perfect person to marry, you know, these aren't necessarily the the keys to happiness. They can be, but it's how we respond to life's milestones that make us happy more than whatever is involved. And I'm living proof that you can be happy even making less than 20,000 a year. It can be done. You just need to enjoy what you have and curtail it's wonderful to have dreams, but you don't want to live in the future. You really don't want to live in the past. You want to live in the here and now. And that's what true happiness is all about. Noticing the things that give you pleasure so that your memories stay with you, valuing the people in your life and showing them appreciation, and reaching outside of yourself to do some things for other people. And, the whole course is about little ways to make yourself happy now. If you're going to Yale and you've got this heavy course load, you might be thinking, well, when I graduate and get my dream job, I'll be happy. Well, why put happiness off? You can be happy now, whatever you're in the middle of. You don't have to finish to be happy. And that's one of the myths that they debunk in the class. Professor Laurie Santos is wonderful, and I really enjoy all of her lectures, and it's a wonderful class, and it's really not a lot of work either. So definitely I recommend it. It's absolutely free. You do not have to pay for it. Um, she made it available for free so more people would take advantage of the knowledge that you get from this course and to help more people be happy. That's why she's giving it away for free. You won't be asked to buy anything. It just takes a little of your time each week, and I guarantee you it will help you be happier. And you actually get to take some tests during the course that not only helps Dr. Santos' research, but also shows you proof that your happiness will improve as you're taking the class. Because you take a test to measure your happiness before you start, and then you are tested for different things in the class. And it is a journey of self discovery that is well worth it. So, now I've left you with two very big tools to increase your happiness and decrease your stress and help you maybe not to become mentally ill, because definitely stress, worry, COVID, and the uncertainty of what life is going to be like in the future, definitely we all have these fears and anxieties about being in the middle of a pandemic that maybe a lot of us thought was going to be over, and here it is, we're in the middle of it again. So, definitely these two tools, this little course from the UN, I would say take that first, and then if you want to delve into a formal college course. Now, if you don't pay for the course, you won't get college credit for it, but if you want college credit, there's the option to pay for that and have your tests count and be recorded. So, there's that too. But definitely, I would recommend the course for everybody, say, age 15 and up. I would say, there's no age limit. If you've got a particularly precocious child and they can understand the material, maybe you might take it as a family and explain anything that's not too easy for your child to grasp. I would say it's a good thing for all ages. But definitely consider taking that course together with your family. Um, both of them, the UN, how to deal with stress, and the science of happiness, the science of well-being course from Yale. And both of these are free. They will not cost you anything but your time. So, there again, thank you for coming to Granny's house this day, and tomorrow I'll be back talking about some more stuff. And maybe I'll actually go through some stuff in that book. So, everybody take care and be happy, and we will meet again tomorrow night, hopefully. And until then, y'all take care and don't let the stress get you down. value what you can do and enjoy what you can do. Don't worry about your can't do list or all the things that you didn't get done today. Think about what you did get done. And if you just rested today and just had a good day, then be happy about that because no time is wasted. So I'll leave you with that thought. And this is Granny Handicap saying farewell and good night. See you tomorrow. I'll go to my little goodbye screen. And y'all take care. Good night.